Hey, what's up guys, TechTine here, and this is the comparison between the 24 and the 25 Moto Razr. Now, visually, not much has changed, but there are some things that Motorola did to kind of improve upon the previous generation. So let's compare both of these phones, talk about them, and see if it's worth the upgrade. Short answer is no, but let's compare them. So starting with the 24 Razr's design, it has kind of a two-part, right? The first part is this kind of big display that's 3.6 inches, which we will definitely talk about. The other part is the material that they decided to use, which is more so on the soft, almost sandstone type of material. So it's an eco-friendly polymer that resembles not leather this time, but it does have this kind of soft sandstone finish to it. It's a thin device when comparing it to your standard smartphone, so it's about 7.2 millimeters thick. And the buttons on here, the volume up and down and the fingerprint sensor that's located on the side, is reliable, clicky, and the frame itself is made out of aluminum. And when you fold the phone shut, like I said, you get greeted with this 3.6 inch display that is also an AMOLED display, but we will have a conversation about it later on. In addition to that, you get a dual camera setup and a flash, which we will also cover later on, but that's your essential design behind the 24 Moto Razr. Flipping it? Okay, cool. So switching to the 25 Moto Razr, then I do have to say that while still they use the same essential polymer material, it does feel a little bit different. So it's more textured and in my opinion feels a little bit better. However, it is a little bit also more slippery. And if you look at the color itself, I actually do like this blue color. I think it's a solid look for Motorola. And I like it more than that standard gray that they have on the previous generation. In addition to that, they use a sort of a titanium reinforced hinge to improve upon the hinge design, which I criticized heavily on the previous generation, but essentially follows the same aluminum rails all the way around the phone. The only thing that's changed is the texture behind the material. Other than that, pretty similar as far as looks. Now, if we put these displays side by side, I was trying to see if they made it brighter, if they made it look better, but visually, just by looking at it without actually looking it up, they look pretty similar. And like I said, the biggest changes here, if you really want to nitpick, is within the material and how they feel in the hand. And of course, the colors, if you consider that a huge change. I do. I think the blue on here again looks really stellar on the 25 model. And so from a design perspective, is it worth it to get one over the other? Because essentially, other than the material, they look pretty similar. Similar button placement, similar port placement. Yeah, the feel is a little bit different, but in my opinion, the biggest thing that I would take from a change of design is not just the looks, but also the improved reinforced hinge. So definitely makes a difference in the way that I shut the phone on both the 25 versus the 24. The 25 feels a little bit more solid and just more improved from a durability perspective. Now, if we switch the conversation and talk about the displays of both of these devices, then to be honest with you, they're very similar. So the 24 model has a 6.9 inch LTPO AMOLED display, so it's 120 Hz HDR10 plus, and it does reach a 3000 nits peak brightness, whereas the 25 model has, again, 6.9 inch display, LTPO AMOLED, 120 Hz HDR10 plus, and again 3000 nits of peak brightness. Both of these phones do provide with an 84.9% screen to body ratio, so not much has changed in that regard. And so from just the display perspective, you should expect similar outcome. I do have to say, again, I want to circle back to the whole hinge design. The 25 model will show a less noticeable crease, not by much, but it's definitely something that I noticed while watching videos, going through social media, and doing anything that would require me to use this display. Now, on the other hand, if we look at both of these 3.6 inch smaller displays, then again, not much has changed here. So on the 24 model, you get a 3.6 inch display, 413 ppi, HDR10 plus, 1700 nits of peak brightness, and 90 Hz refresh rate. Similar on that on the 25 model. So again, not much has changed from that perspective. And so when it comes to the display quality, you would not go wrong with either of those displays. Definitely on the higher end of the spectrum, both some solid displays both on the inner screen and the outer screen. So definitely thumbs up for Motorola for giving us a consistent display. Let's have the camera conversation. So both of these phones have a dual camera setup. They perform very similarly. So a 15 megapixel main sensor on both, f1.7 aperture. And the thing that has improved from the 24 to the 25 model, I would say, is a little bit of the image quality. So the ultra wide on both of these phones are 13 megapixels and they perform very similar. However, I do have to say that I did see a improved image processing capability on the 25 versus the 24. Now, is that a dramatic enough difference for you to go out and switch or go out of your way to switch to the 25 model? Probably not. Calm down. However, for the sake of this comparison, the 25 model does win the quality of the camera, especially when it comes to contrast and slightly better color and more complete picture. And the wide angle did seem to be improved a little bit more than the main sensor. As far as video, similar story. The colors on the 25 model pop slightly more, but it's not really that noticeable. And the 25 model is a little bit brighter when it comes to shooting video. Now, is that again enough reason for you to upgrade? No. So let's talk about performance. So in the performance department, the basic story that I have to say is this. The 24 model uses a MediaTek Dimensity 7300 versus the 25 model that uses a 7400. 256 gigabyte storage on both of these phones, 8 gigabytes of RAM on both of these phones. The biggest difference here from just strictly performance and specs is that the battery life is bigger on the 25 Razr versus the 24. So the 24 model does only support a 4200 milliamp hour battery versus the 4600 milliamp hour battery, or sorry, 4500 milliamp hour battery on the 25 model. Both of them have a 30 watt of fast charging, and as far as wireless charging, they both support 15 watts. Now, the improved processor is mainly for AI capability and not so much for the performance. So yes, the 25 Razr is better as far as performance, but it's very marginal performance increase. So it's almost about 3 to 6% faster than the previous generation. And I don't think that that alone is enough for you to upgrade again. Now, as far as heating concerns, you shouldn't be too concerned as far as heating issues. Yeah, they do get warm when using them extensively, and that goes for both the 24 and the 25 model, but it's nothing that made me kind of uncomfortable when using the phone, or nothing that raised concerns where I have to be like, yeah, these phones have a heating problem. Not there yet. Hopefully it doesn't happen in the future, so we'll see. Now, here is my bottom line conclusion. When it comes to the 24 and the 25 model, is it worth the upgrade? Now, if you do have the 24 model and you're happy with it, don't upgrade. It's not worth it. If you have the previous model with the really tiny screen, yes, I would get the 25 before I'd get the 24 if you're into the flip market, just because I wouldn't want to spend $1,000 on the kind of the Razr Plus. I don't think they've made enough improvement for me to go to the Razr Plus. That's just my humble opinion. I would spend the $699 on the 25 model if I had the 23 model, because it does bring in some really cool features and a really similar hinge design to that of the Razr Plus. So over the improved hinges, the kind of slightly improved camera, everything from both of the 24 and 25 model has been an incremental upgrade. I would say for me personally, the biggest thing is that hinge improvement. It's definitely welcome, and it's definitely a good thing that they did that. So hopefully this phone will last way longer than the previous generation. Now, with that being said, I do want to hear your guys' opinion. Do you think that it's worth the upgrade? Maybe your opinion is very different than mine, so I would love to hear it in the comments below. Let me know. Do you think that the 25 model is worth the hassle, worth spending extra $700 if you have the previous generation, or not? So let's have a conversation in the comments below. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you do enjoy this video, make sure you leave a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you all for watching.